When starting a newsletter, it's really important to choose a good niche. In this video, I'm going to give you 8 high-value newsletter niche ideas. The first idea is the web design niche. This niche is highly monetizable. You can monetize with your own high-ticket services, your own courses, your own web design templates. There are very lucrative affiliate programs in the niche, such as the Webflow and the Framer affiliate programs. And it's very good for sponsors. It's also the case that this niche is a good one for growing on social media. So to grow the newsletter, you could grow on social media, such as on Instagram and YouTube, where you do web design tutorials, and then you send people to your newsletter from your social media profiles. Just quickly guys, I made a free Framer landing page template. It features the overlapping customer images, the infinite brand slider, a card for video testimonials, cards for regular testimonials, the crossed out pricing, and more. You can find it in the link in the description. The next niche idea is teaching any skill that you have. Newsletters that teach about a pain point are generally some of the best niches to enter, because in those niches you're solving real problems for real people, and people usually are willing to pay to solve their problems. So in that niche you'll be able to monetize with your own products, such as your own communities, your own courses, coaching, and high-ticket services. Ideally, you would also grow in this niche on YouTube and Instagram. And YouTube and Instagram are particularly useful because they give you lots of opportunities to get your audience to know, like, and trust you. And it also gives you more opportunities to grow your newsletter. The next niche idea is a high-income hobby or interest niche, such as luxury watches. Hobby and interest niches often are easy to grow, especially on social media, and often you can get very good open and click-through rates because people have a very high level of interest in the niche. You can also get good sponsor CPMs in the niche because you can attract a high-income audience, such as the audience for luxury watches. There is also some potential to sell your own guides. However, it won't be as lucrative as a newsletter around some kind of a pain point. A good example of a newsletter in the luxury watch niche is Own the Watch. This newsletter is able to monetize with sponsors and their own guides. The next newsletter niche idea is a high-income job niche, such as data science, being an actuary, or any high-income job. You just have to create content for the newsletter related to the job. And again, you can grow this type of newsletter using YouTube and Instagram, where you send people to the newsletter using lead magnets, or you can simply send people to your homepage saying to sign up to the newsletter in order to get the latest news in the niche. By growing on YouTube and Instagram, you'll also get the opportunity to monetize YouTube and Instagram. And high-income job niches often get very high CPMs on YouTube AdSense, so you can actually get quite a good income just from the AdSense on YouTube. But you'll get a lot more income from sponsors for YouTube and the newsletter because you will have a high-income job-specific audience that employers in that niche will really want to get in front of. And so they will often pay you a very high CPM to be in front of that audience. You also have the potential to make quite a lot of money from high-ticket job placement services, where you help people to find jobs in that industry. You can also monetize with low-ticket courses and affiliate for software that's in the industry. The next newsletter niche idea is to take a popular niche, but to niche it down for high-income people. For example, fitness for CEOs. The advantage of niching it down for high-income people is that it's going to be more specific to them, so it will be easier to get them onto the newsletter. But also it will be easier to get sponsors because generally sponsors want to be in front of high-income people. And also you'll have the ability to monetize with your own high-ticket coaching Because, for example, if you have an audience of CEOs who want to get fit, then a lot of them are going to be willing to pay you a good amount of money to coach them on how to get in shape whilst also being CEOs. A good example of someone in this niche is Dango. He creates fitness content for CEOs on social media, and then he sends people to his newsletter, and then he's able to monetize the newsletter with sponsors, a low ticket course, and high ticket coaching. The next newsletter niche idea is to solve a high income problem in a specific niche. For example, email marketing for e-commerce stores. In that niche, you could grow with YouTube tutorials on how to do email marketing for e-commerce stores. And within the videos and in the descriptions, you link to your lead magnets, which are guides on email marketing for e-commerce stores. And by doing that, you'll be able to grow your newsletter in that niche. And then obviously you'll be able to monetize this niche with your own high ticket services and also affiliates and courses. The advantage of being in a niche like this is that you really don't need a large audience to make a high income. If you have 2,000 e-commerce store owners who want to get better at email marketing, then it's well within reason to get 0.5% of them to convert for a high ticket offer in that specific niche. The next newsletter niche idea is a newsletter around any of your interests. Most interests can be monetized in some way. As long as you're either able to grow on social media or get a low acquisition cost on Facebook, you'll be able to monetize the newsletter in some way. Ideally, you want to find accounts on social media that have been able to grow an audience, because that will validate for you that it's possible to grow an audience on social media. And then you can grow in that niche as well on social media by creating your own spin on the content. And you also should look for accounts in the niche that are successfully monetizing, so that can validate for you that it's actually a monetizable niche as well. But the alternative, where you have a newsletter that solves a pain point around some kind of a skill that you have, is generally going to be a more lucrative newsletter to have, because you're solving real problems for real people and they're going to be willing to pay you to solve those problems. The next newsletter niche idea is a local newsletter. This is where your newsletter gives the news on recent events in your city. Obviously, this is going to be an ideal niche for sponsors, because businesses in the city are going to want to pay you to put their businesses in the newsletter. The problem with this niche is that it can be hard to scale to a large audience, but you won't necessarily have a very high income audience like you would have for a high income job newsletter or a high income problem newsletter like email marketing for e-com stores. So in my opinion, those types of newsletters are better, because in those newsletters you have the ability to monetize with your own high ticket offers, and the CPMs will often be even higher than on a local newsletter because of the high income audience that you have that's specific to a specific job or industry. But that's not to say that you can't have success with a local newsletter, because you absolutely can do. If you're going to grow a local newsletter, it would also be worthwhile to grow on Instagram and TikTok, where you create content about your city and then link people to the newsletter from the bios and within the content. And the advantage of doing that is that you give yourself an additional way to monetize with sponsors, because sponsors will pay you to do shout out posts on Instagram, which is where you do a post that promotes the business. And usually what Instagram pages will do is they'll delete the post after 24 hours. And if the business wants to buy additional sponsorship posts, then they can do.